Dominic Reeves stared at the envelope in his hand, the embossed logo of the prestigious law firm catching the light as it rested on the kitchen counter. His eyes lingered on the bolded words on the letter, unable to make sense of them at first. Amanda Reeves was demanding immediate spousal support, $20,000 per month, while their divorce was being processed. He set the letter down, his fingers brushing against the cool granite surface of the kitchen island, the very same one that had once witnessed their shared dreams. It had been their sanctuary, a symbol of their hard work, love, and hope. The house, a grand Victorian in the heart of San Francisco's Pacific Heights, had been their shared project. 5 years of weekends spent carefully restoring it to perfection. Now, it felt like nothing more than a monument to a marriage that had long since withered away. Dom exhaled slowly, running a hand through his graying hair, the weight of the situation sinking in. His expression, once a picture of frustration and disbelief, had transformed into something calmer. 6 months ago, a letter like this would have sent him into a rage. He might have stormed out of the house, calling Amanda with accusations and anger spilling from his lips. But that was before he had uncovered the truth. Before he had seen the woman behind the mask. Before everything had changed. His phone vibrated again. Amanda. She'd been calling him non-stop since the day before, no doubt eager to know whether he'd seen the lawyer's letter. He had, and he was ignoring her. Letting her stew. Patience had become a new skill he'd learned in the past 6 months, and it served him well. While Amanda frantically tried to reach him, Dom had been quietly gathering the evidence of her betrayal. Dom had built his construction empire from humble beginnings, starting with nothing more than a single truck and a box of tools. Over the years, his reputation as one of Northern California's most respected restoration experts had been forged through hard work and determination. Amanda had been by his side at the start, managing the books while working toward her interior design certification. Together they had scraped by, dreaming of bigger things. But success, as it often does, had changed things. 3 years ago, Amanda had begun to drift into a new social circle. One filled with wealthy women married to tech moguls and Silicon Valley investors. While Dom's earnings were steady, they couldn't compete with the fortunes these women were accustomed to. Amanda returned from lunch dates with tales of private jets and spontaneous trips to Aspen, shopping sprees and glittering jewelry. Weekends away were no longer explained, and Dom's doubts grew. But it wasn't until last year, when Dom suggested they go to therapy, that the rift between them truly deepened. Amanda scoffed at the idea, calling it a working man's band-aid. It became clear she was no longer the woman he had married, no longer interested in working through their problems. The breaking point came during tax season, when Dom's accountant flagged over $300,000 in missing funds. The money had vanished into unfamiliar accounts. When Dom confronted Amanda about it, she waved it off, blaming expenses and Dom's lack of financial savvy. But 2 weeks later, Dom had hired a private investigator who uncovered the truth. Amanda had been seeing Preston Chambers, a hedge fund executive whose sprawling estate Dom's firm had restored. Photos, timestamps, and bank withdrawals aligned with damning precision. Now, as Dom poured himself a double bourbon, he stared at the letter again. $20,000 a month. His thoughts flickered back to the day they'd signed their prenup, a decade ago. It had been Amanda's idea to let the agreement expire on their 10th anniversary, calling it unromantic. He had agreed, blind to what was coming. His phone buzzed once more. Amanda again. This time, instead of answering, Dom replied with a simple text, "Message received." He then called the one person he trusted now more than anyone, Tessa Martinez. "She's asking for $20,000 a month," Dom said, his voice steady. Tessa's response was a low whistle. "Ballsy. But not unexpected. Follow our plan. I'll handle the rest." Dom ended the call and took a moment to look around the house. Every inch of it had been shaped by his hands. The home that had once been a testament to their love was now a relic of a life he was leaving behind. 3 days later, Dom reclined in his business class seat, a one-way ticket to Sydney in his passport. He declined the champagne offered by the flight attendant. He needed his mind clear for what came next. Australia hadn't been chosen randomly. Dom's firm had recently secured its first international project, a restoration of a heritage-listed opera house in Sydney. On Tessa's advice, he had spent the last 6 months setting up an Australian subsidiary, legally transferring assets offshore. Everything was above board, everything invisible to Amanda and her pitbull attorney, Leo Friedman. Another call came in. Amanda yet again. The 27th attempt since he'd last replied. Dom powered his phone to silent and stared out the window as the plane ascended into the sky. The final steps of his plan had fallen into place. He had withdrawn exactly half of their joint account, no more. It had taken discipline. He had gathered the financial documents Tessa had flagged as critical. The private investigator's photos were ready. He had even arranged to donate Amanda's luxury goods, bought with their shared funds, to his sister's annual charity auction for survivors of abuse. Every item had been accounted for, every receipt carefully preserved. Just as Dom was leaving his office, Brendan Walsh, Amanda's brother, had arrived. "You think you can just vanish?" Brendan demanded, his impeccable suit a sharp contrast to Dom's casual attire. Unlike Amanda, Brendan had built his own successful business, and Dom had always respected him. "I'm not vanishing," Dom replied coolly. "I'm working. Something Amanda might consider trying." Brendan hesitated. "I know my sister's challenging but $20000. That's not her." Leo went overboard. "She didn't even know." "Did she tell you about Preston Chambers?" Dom asked, his voice calm but firm. Brendan went quiet. Dom's words were clear. "Tell Amanda her lawyer will be hearing from mine. From now on everything goes through them." As Dom looked out at the city below, 5 more missed calls blinked across his screen, including one from an unknown number. Most likely it was Friedman. Dom wasn't running. He was repositioning. On Tessa's instruction, her paralegal had filed their counteraction the moment Dom left U.S. jurisdiction. By the time Amanda and her lawyer realized what had happened, the court date would already be set. Midway through the flight, Dom's phone lit up. An email from Tessa. "Package delivered. Response received. Moving forward." Attached was a copy of the legal filing, proof of Amanda's infidelity, financial misconduct, and a motion for emergency proceedings regarding the funds she had mishandled. By the time the wheels touched down in Sydney, Dom had over 70 missed calls. Amanda's parents, Brendan, even Amanda's best friend, Vivian. 3 voicemails from Leo Friedman, each progressively more conciliatory. Dom played the third one while waiting at baggage claim. "Mr. Reeves, please contact me. There seems to be some confusion regarding the spousal support request." Dom deleted Amanda's message without hesitation, his fingers swiftly swiping across the screen. The text from Tessa had already arrived, confirming what he had expected. "Friedman's backpedaling," she wrote, her tone sharp and assured. Her next message came just as quickly. "Judge Winters had the case." Tessa's lack of patience for entitled litigants and their questionable financial dealings was apparent. The attached emergency hearing notice set the date for just 3 days away. Perfect timing. The calm before the storm. Dom flagged down a taxi at the airport curb. "The Langham," he told the driver as the Sydney skyline unfolded before him. His phone buzzed once again, the 103rd call from Amanda. This time Dom answered. "Where the hell are you?" Amanda's voice was sharp, her frustration bordering on panic. Dom's reply was measured, unbothered. "Something you might consider trying. You can't just accuse me of hiding assets while I'm traveling for business." Her voice shot back immediately. "Leo says it looks bad." Dom chuckled. "Coming from you? That's rich. Check your inbox. Tessa sent some bank records you might want to review." A long pause followed before Amanda spoke again, her voice trembling. "Dom, baby, let's talk about this. The $$20,000 transfer? Leo's idea, not mine. I told him it was excessive. Did you also tell him about Preston Chambers? Or about siphoning funds for the past year?" Dom's voice was icy. Amanda stammered, her words faltering. "It's not what you think." Dom's response was cold and final. "See you in court." He ended the call just as the taxi pulled up to the entrance of the Langham. The countdown begins. 3 days later in Sydney, Dom's phone buzzed again. Amanda had called 110 times. Leo Friedman had tried 15 times, his messages increasingly frantic. The final voicemail was the most gratifying. "Mr. Reeves, please have your counsel contact me immediately. Mrs. Reeves is prepared to re-evaluate her financial position and work toward a fair resolution." Dom forwarded the voicemail to Tessa. Her reply was instant, a thumbs-up emoji followed by the message, "Hearing in progress now. Judge Winters looks furious." Standing on the balcony of his suite overlooking the Sydney harbor, Dom answered when Tessa called. "Well?" he asked, his voice calm. "Total win," she said, her voice practically radiating satisfaction. Judge Winters froze all accounts Amanda had access to. She has to provide a full accounting for every dollar. As for Friedman's demands, Dismissed. The judge called him offensive and disconnected from reality. Dom exhaled steadily. And the house? You're clear to return. Amanda has to vacate immediately until the final decision. The judge said her actions raised serious concerns about protecting shared assets. Amanda's final stand. Did she show up? Dom asked. Oh yes, Tessa replied. Dressed in roughly $15,000 worth of high-end fashion and jewelry. Not her finest strategy. How did Friedman take it? Like he wanted to disappear when the judge asked him to explain the penalties for concealing assets. Dom gave a slow nod. What's next? Settlement talks. But the leverage is entirely ours now. If she walks away with anything, it'll be minimal. Maybe enough to restart her life, baby? A bitter reflection. After the call, Dom scrolled through Amanda's attempts to reach him. 110 missed calls. Part of him, the rawer part, felt grim satisfaction at her desperation. But the overwhelming emotion was emptiness. 15 years of marriage, countless shared dreams, now reduced to mere debris. His phone rang again. Amanda, he answered, his voice flat. Dom, she whispered, her voice trembling from tears. They're making me leave the house. I have nowhere to go. That's the court's ruling, not mine, Dom replied, his tone detached. I didn't mean for this to happen, she pleaded. Everything I have is there. You should have thought about that before Chambers. Before draining our finances. A shaky breath escaped her. It wasn't like that. Preston was helping me invest for us. A villa in Tuscany for our anniversary. You always said we'd retire there. Dom closed his eyes, the bitter reality of it all settling deep within. The withdrawal started 18 months ago. Our anniversary was 2 months ago. You spent it at the Chambers estate in Napa. I have the receipts. I have the photos. Silence stretched between them. I loved you at the beginning, she finally whispered. I know, Dom replied, his voice quiet, heavy with truth. That's what hurts most. He ended the call and turned his gaze back to the harbor. The opera house shimmered white against the bay, its beauty a stark contrast to the turmoil in his heart. The renovation contract lay open on the desk inside the suite. Starting over required letting go. The first step forward. A new message arrived from Darius, Dom's best friend and trusted site manager back home. Heard the news. We're ready when you are. Business and beers waiting. Dom smiled, typing back. Be home in 3 days. First round's on me. Another message followed, this time from Nora. Amanda's designer wardrobe raised $47,000 for the shelter. Poetic justice. Dom laughed, sliding his phone away. There were things to prepare, a company to grow, and a life to rebuild. The path ahead was clear. The final call. As the phone buzzed one last time, Dom glanced at it. Another missed call from Amanda. Number 111. He didn't pick up.